So you're going to take a full piece of paper and you are going to hold it up long ways, but you're going to create double doors, okay? So it's like a burrito fold, and then you're going to flatten it out so that you have these double doors right here. Now that is going to turn into this. When you paste it down, you're going to cut your double doors into 3 sections each side, okay? So you can have 3 sections here, and you can try to keep those as even as you possibly can, okay? Now, it gives you 6 doors. You're going to start with 1851 Fort Laramie Treaty, and what we did is made words out of each one of the letters. Now, if you can think of some other words besides the ones I put on here, you're welcome to add to it. All right, so F is safe passage, because the Indians had to guarantee safe passage. O, we said no settlers were allowed. R is we turned into Oregon Trail, because they had to keep the Oregon Trail safe. This R is reservation. Indians had to stay on reservation. I, Indian. The A we turned into USA, and the Y we turned into money, $50,000. And then we put a picture on the inside of the Fort Laramie Treaty. Here is the Indian reservation the Indians have to live on. The Oregon Trail. Here is that sneaky little miner that would get in there and try to mine the land. And here are the settlers that would settle on the land when they weren't supposed to. The USA promised $50,000, but very rarely kept that promise. Okay, so we have 1866, the Fetterman Massacre. We turned the F into follow, the E into Bozeman Trail, D into die, and then the E starts a new word, 80, because 80 men died that day from the Army troops. And then over here, we have hundreds Sioux, because there were hundreds of Sioux, and Crazy Horse led them and tricked the soldiers. So this side talks, that's why that squiggle line's in the middle. This side talks more about the Army. They were manning the Bozeman Trail. They followed Crazy Horse. 80 of them died, and then over on this side, the word massacre we made into things that talked about the Indians. And on the inside, we have a picture of Crazy Horse and hundreds of Indians, so you kind of get that. I made the number 100 and the S into Indians. And here's the Bozeman Trail, and here are 80 soldiers, and all of them died, so that's why they have like a Ghostbuster symbol going through them. Now over here we have 1875, Treaty of Medicine Lodge. Texans were attacked. The U.S. Army cut off, we made of into off, food and for the Comanches, okay, and then in water. And so here's a picture of what happened. We have a little key down here, the Texans, and you can choose whatever colors you want, but the Texans are in just pencil, and they say help, and the Indians are in red, and we only have one in here just because of lack of space, but there were more than one Indian. Okay, and then the soldiers surround the Indians and cut off their food and water, and the Indian says, no food or water, so he has to surrender. And one way you can think of it is, if you haven't had food or water for a long time, you might need some medicine. Treaty of Medicine Lodge. Okay, let's go to 1876. Battle of Little Bighorn. We turned the A into Crazy Horse, the T into thousands, because there were thousands of Indians that day. L into last victory. It was Crazy Horses and the Sioux. It's last victory. The O turns into Sioux. The I here turns into Sitting Bull, because Sitting Bull also teamed up with Crazy Horse in this fight. And then on the other side, we took the word little, and right where the 2 T's are, we kind of put a split, because this side is about the Indians and this side is about the United States Army. We took the E, and it says die. And the L says last stand, because it was Custer's last stand. The G says George Custer. The H turns into 2. We put a 2 above it. And then 150, because that's how many men died that day. R into river, because it was the Little Bighorn River where the fighting took place. And then the N turns into underestimated, because Custer underestimated the Indians. So here we have Custer, which we made him look like a cone of custard. And we have 250 that we turned into soldiers following Custard. And all of them die. That's why they have the Ghostbuster symbol. Here's the Little Bighorn River. And here we have thousands of Indians that attack them at the Little Bighorn River. Dawes Act of 1877. The D turns into Indians, the A turns into nomadic, the E turns into seeds because the Indians were expected to become farmers. The S turns into plots and school because the Indians were given plots and they had to send their kids to school. A turns into Americanized, C into culture ruined because the Indian culture was ruined with the Dawes Act. And then 2 weaknesses because the Dawes Act was meant to get rid of the 2 weaknesses of Indians, which were that they were nomadic and they were tribal. And so here we are, we've split up the reservation into farmland for each Indian family. So here are their kids, here's the Indian house, the farm, and you see all the kids are being sent off to, and over here we have boarding school. And last one, we have Massacre at Wounded Knee of 1890. A is turned into Indians, S into Sitting Bull, the other S into Shot, A into Army, C into Chased, the R turns into Tribe. So the Indians and Sitting Bull gets shot, Army chased the tribe, the T turns into Take because they're trying to take, W into weapons, they're trying to take the weapons away from the Indians, 200 Sioux, because that's how many died, and 25 soldiers, that's how many died, and then we put a little ghost figure, and the D turns into dance. They were trying to do a ghost dance, and Sioux die. Okay, and so on the inside, we have the ghost dance, Sitting Bull's being arrested, and they accidentally shoot him. All the soldiers who were doing this, the ghost dance, and their families, they run to Wounded Knee Creek away from the soldiers because they're scared. And here we have the soldiers, which we made into Pac-Man because thought it was funny that they, Pac-Man goes after the ghost, and so the soldiers were going after the Indians. And 25 soldiers die when a gunshot goes off. They all start shooting, and 200 Indians die that day.